You have it up there. Even if you didn't have the formula, think about what that means. It's how much money you make per dollar of sales. You have a name for that. We just discussed it. Just look up there. That's profit margin. Okay? What's the second one? Sales over total assets. We discussed it last week. It's how many dollars of sales you have per dollar of assets, or how many times you turn your assets over, in a sense. Okay? And that's TAT, which is total asset turnover. So your return on assets could be high. Either your profit margin is high, you make a lot of money per dollar of sales, or you're turning over your assets pretty fast. So one is pure profit margin, the other is, in a sense, efficiency of asset use. So you make money per dollar of sales, but you also use your assets efficiently. I don't remember if you calculated it for Walmart and I have to calculate it for Kroger too. ROA. I'm gonna let me see. Net earnings including controlling interest divided by total assets. Kroger is 453, 339 the last 2 years, and Walmart is 464, 569. We can immediately calculate TAT, which would be ROA divided by profit margin. So this is Walmart. They roughly turn over their assets about 2.4 times. Let's do the same thing for Kroger. As we noted last week, they are more efficient than Walmart, but they're not making as much money per dollar of sales. That's why their return on assets is either about the same as Walmart or a little bit less. Last item is ROE, or return on assets, return on equity, I'm sorry. This is net income per dollar of shareholders' equity, which is obviously total assets minus total liabilities. Let's calculate that for Walmart and Kroger. ROE equals consolidated net income divided by where is it? Total equity. And let's do the same thing for Kroger. So the average of last 2 years is 20% for Kroger, and the average of last 2 years is about 14% for Walmart. So what happened? I mean, Walmart had a higher profit margin, higher return on assets, but when it comes to return on equity, Kroger beats them. Why do you think that's happening? Have a guess. Anybody has a guess? Walmart has a higher profit margin and higher return on assets, but Kroger pretty much they're about ahead one touchdown.
Is it in any way related to Kroger being smaller than Walmart?
Kroger what?
Is it in any way related to Kroger being a smaller?
No, that has nothing to do with size.
Okay.
These are income per dollar of something. Anybody has another guess? This goes back to the golden age principle in business. You want to make money with other people's money. Okay? Kroger has higher debt. And the way you see that, let's write down ROE, net income over total equity. And I'm going to multiply that by 1 again. I'm going to divide and multiply by total assets. Rearranging that, net income over total assets times total assets divided by total equity. What's that first item? Net income over total assets. It's up there. Return on assets. I'm gonna write the second one as total liabilities plus total equity divided by total equity. Remember, total assets are liabilities plus equity. So this is ROA times 1 plus total liabilities plus divided by total equity. So we have a name for that ratio, total liabilities over total equity. We covered that last class. You know, some of you left right after Jeopardy, so you probably haven't seen it. But if you read the book, at least you would know what that is. You can think of liability as debt, right? That's basically debt equity ratio, okay? It's called debt equity ratio. And we also have a name for 1 plus that equity ratio. We call that equity multiplier. EM for short. 1 plus total equity, total liabilities over total equity. Come on, man. It doesn't contain any independent information. You know, if your debt equity ratio is high, so is equity multiplier. But, you know, instead of writing 1 plus, you just say equity multiplier. So that means ROE is equal to ROA times EM. Equity multiplier, if you have zero debt, it's going to be 1. Okay. No firm has zero debt, but firms with low debt, it's going to be closer to 1. With firms with higher debt, it's going to be much away from 1. This is basically your leverage. Okay. EM is a measure of leverage. So if you have $5 if your EM is 5, that means all $5 of assets you borrowed 4. You're using $1 your own money. If your EM is 10, you're using $9 of other people's money while you're using $1 of your own money. Remember, return on assets is how much money you make on those assets. If that number is high, if your EM is high, that's multiplied. That's why we call it equity multiplier. Which means, without even calculating it, we can know that Kroger has much higher equity multiplier. Because from that equation, EM is equal to ROE divided by ROA, right? So let's calculate them for both companies. For Walmart, divide ROE by ROA. So their EM is about 275 average, roughly. So for each $1 of their own money, they're using 175 somebody else's money. Let's make the same calculation for Kroger. Without me calculating anything, you know that's very high. I mean, it averages above 5 the last 2 years. So for $1 of their own money, they're using $4 of other people's money. But since they're making quite a bit of money on that $4 that they borrow from somebody else, it multiplies their return on assets. Even though it's lower than Walmart's, they're doing it at a larger scale because of their debt. That's why they have a 1 touchdown difference in return on equity. Putting all those three together, actually,